you're looking for a secure haven within the literary world, you found the perfect organization. Let's make magic together. Our space is specifically designed for African American authors who are passionate about their writings of films and books. It's a platform to stay informed about industry developments. And on Patreon, we'll share exclusive content, valuable resources, and engaging discussions and masterclasses on various subjects, ranging from film and publishing industry trends to wellness and business tips. So if you're ready to dive into this exciting community, become a member now. Welcome to our literary haven where creativity knows no bounds. Let's make magic together.
They're not gonna let people like me be recognized. They're not gonna let me in the room. Fuck it. I'm gonna make my own room. Things I had all these dreams and things I wanted to do, and I wanted to basically be this published artist. I began to realize, wait, I gotta go back. Because what am I looking for? What am I thinking?
Hello, everybody. Hi. Happy Sunday. Welcome to the first ever episode of In Creative Color, where I like to say your fourth Sunday just got a bit more colorful. My name is Jasmine Bunch, now and forever to be known as your favorite Jazzonfire, and I am so excited to be one of Sunday Craft Chats with AAMBC newest hosts. So y'all, just to give you a little bit about In Creative Color, we will be digging deeper into the stories of the heartbeats behind the art. So learning what it looked like to paint the picture that they did with their projects. We're here to talk with the creatives, the bakers, the movers, and shakers. This is the personification of the creation versus the creative. This is In Creative Color, y'all. So I am so very honored to introduce my first ever guest, Margarett McBride. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring her in. Hey, Margarett.
Hey, everybody. Hey, Jasmine.
Hello. So let me just give y'all the rundown of who Margarett is. Because I mean, as always, Black women, the list goes on, right? So Margarett McBride is a developmental psychology PhD candidate who resides in North Carolina, but she is proudly from Saginaw, Michigan. Did I say that right? Okay, yes. Just like my hometown. They're like, what? Yeah, no.
I don't know how to pronounce your hometown either.
Ahoskie.
Okay.
At the end of this call, if anybody could pronounce and remember either one of our hometowns, I don't know. We're going to have to throw something your way. But yes. So she uses her work to uplift the experiences of marginalized people. During her undergrad experience, she co-facilitated arts-based workshops for formerly incarcerated people through the Prison Creative Arts Project in Michigan. And currently, she is an instructor and a researcher. And then, of course, to toss creative in that belt, Margarett also loves creating art through her business, Made by Margarett LLC, which you will be seeing at the bottom of the screen. Go ahead and follow her, tap in. She loves volunteering at community festivals, working with organizations to help them increase a sense of belonging for the community members. And today we especially want to highlight Margarett because she is a two-time author. Come on, two-time author of Your Dad, Love Nelson, and then Dominique's Thrifted Treasures. So 2 children's books. So Margarett, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Excited to see you again. It's been a long time, but I'm just excited for the conversation.
Yes. So fun fact, me and Margarett were classmates at UNC. And so we actually did some work together when, of course, I was figuring out what exactly I wanted to do. And so when this opportunity came about, I was like, oh my gosh, I got to bring on Margarett with those children's books. I mean, amazing. Yeah. Perfect. So it is Sunday, so I would be remiss to give honor to the ultimate creator. So if it's okay with everybody, I know we had church this morning, but I just want to kind of pray us in again, if that's okay. So God, Creator of the heavens and the earth, we thank you, we honor you, and we are especially grateful that your creative grace blows through our veins. Thank you for Margaret. Thank you for AAMBC and this platform, and we thank you for her work. We pray that our conversation would be food, soul food, for someone listening, whether they are hungry to create or hungry for the creator. Let our words touch 1 million or just one. In either way, God, we will give you the glory. Amen.
Amen.
All right. So, Margaret, I know I gave you all, gave the rundown, but tell AAMBC, the family, everybody watching, who is Margarett McBride?
Who am I? That's probably a big question for a lot of people. I'm a sister. I'm a TT. My niece just left, apparently. I'm a new TT. I'm the oldest of my siblings. All my siblings are younger, so this is my first time having a little baby to call, my little niece. I'm an author, as she mentioned. I work.
Girl, you got to throw that two-time in there. Two-time author.
I work in violence prevention. My research looks at community violence and how Black parents can help their children navigate violence. While my children's books don't speak to that now, I'm hoping to maybe write one of those in the future after I finish this dissertation. And I think that's it. I don't know. I'm funny. I might crack a joke or two. Loving, and I love my family. All of my books are usually inspired by my family and friends. So I think those are like very high values of mine as well.
I love that. And hopping right in, because you're already that's why I love working with other creatives. We just be running through the list of questions that I know I had to get into. So to start, why a children's book? Why children's books?
Well, it's the Dear Dad Love Nelson was the first book, and I actually wrote that while I was in undergrad at University of Michigan. I had a first year writing class, and it was about children's books, and so that was like our final project was to write one. And I wrote it. It was the current book is 5 letters, but the original copy of it was just 1 letter. And I did it for the class, and at the time, my stepdad was incarcerated. My brother loves cars, so I was just drawing in from all these things that was happening around my life. And so essentially, it was just for the class, but I think what pushed me to publish it was further researching about incarceration and seeing that our story wasn't unique. I did know that already, but I think that pushed me to really want to get the story out in the world. And as you mentioned before, I'm a developmental psychologist, so I love children, and this just seemed like a perfect medium for me to put research into context for a general audience as well.
Okay, awesome. I love that. And you mentioned how the book started off as 1 letter and then transitioned to 5, correct?
Yeah.
And so if you look inside of the book, and feel free to kind of flash us so we can see, each page of the book features a clip of the letter and then almost a flashback of what Nelson is talking about, which I absolutely love.
Yeah, take us through all letters, just that doesn't write back in this book, but it's as if the dad was collecting the letters while incarcerated and looking back through them is what the book is really.
I love that. Take us through the creative direction of crafting this book.
Well, so like I said, originally it was in class, and I was just kind of doing whatever. You're in school, especially undergrad, especially your first year, you're just throwing stuff together. But once I went to grad school, I took an art class at the Carborough Art Center. I don't know if you've ever been there because you were, in the area too, but they have community-based art classes. And so I went there with my draft and kind of workshopped it with the other classmates. So we would read our own stories, give critiques, and that's kind of how it developed into a multi-letter situation here. Also, I am a developmental psychologist, and for those who don't know, we love change over time. We want to know why the past, influences the future. And so it kind of just was natural for me to be able to separate this into multiple letters so that you can see Nelson grow up a little bit in the story, and just so you can see different days. So originally the letter was one where he was painting in the car, and that was kind of the end of the letter, and that was one of the letters in this final book. But now I could add what was court like, what was going to visit him like. You could see he talking to him on the phones, all those things I wouldn't have been able to do in just 1 letter. And so that was amazing. Being in community with the other people. My name is Margaret. It's an old lady name. And apparently my interests are usually old lady-esque. So all these classes were a bunch of old people, but they were very informative and inspiring. They all had their own stories. They were trying to write for their grandkids or things like that. So I think I also took pieces from their stories and kind of embedded it in mine. And so I don't know, just grabbing everything from the world and putting it in a story was kind of what my process was like. And I found my publisher through a Twitter pitch competition. Actually,
Oh, wow.
I didn't tell you that. When the pandemic happened, I tried to send the book to publishers, and I either didn't get a response, or people would say like, I don't want to publish a Black book about trauma, which I totally get. I'm not anti that, but if you actually read the book, incarceration is traumatic, but this book is a very happy book. Nelson is excited for his dad. And so I just kept pushing, and then I found my publisher via Twitter. Shout out to Free Spirit Publishing. They've been amazing to work with. And I can speak to that more if you'd like. But so kind of just went from there. They found the illustrator. I actually met him in DC this weekend. We took a photo.
Oh, wow.
So if y'all follow me on Instagram, I'll post this soon. I'm backlogged on things I need to post. But so that's kind of like how it went, just taking things from everybody. It was really a collaborative process, because I originally wrote this book with my brother. We like bounced ideas off of each other. He was young then, he's 20 now, but this, like I said, it was an undergrad. I'm an old grad student. This was like 10 years ago when I wrote the first draft of this book. But then the second book, it kind of just came quicker. Once you're published with the traditional publisher, it's usually easier to like whip another one out. And I wanted to write a book about a kid in community who like got to meet everybody. And that was just kind of a thing I did on my own. But I think this book was really foundational for me to just know what it was like to publish and to edit and all those things, because I never said I liked English as my favorite class in high school. I was good in all my classes, but grammar and all those things, it was but this was like a really good crash course on what it's like to really be a published author. And I think I take for granted that I am one. But publishing these books and having the conversations I've had afterwards have been such a blessing, and more informative than any research presentation I've ever done, so because I get to talk to real people about these issues, not just researchers.
I absolutely love that. And I think that's always the beauty of having that creative community. You mentioned you were in these spaces with these other people who are helping you like write, revise, you're bouncing ideas off of them. You're speaking from, their personal life stories. And I think that really, really testifies to the beauty of being in these communities. I know you also mentioned that you were writing this book with your brother. And so one of my questions was going to be asked, especially for Dear Dad, Love Nelson. The main character is a little Black boy. And so I was going to ask, what was the process like of creating this character based on an experience different than your own? Like, how did you keep it authentic? But I'm assuming your brother kind of had a heavy hand in that.
Yeah, so this is really loosely based on our life. Like, we weren't really writing letters to my stepdad. I did write letters to like my cousin. So that kind of like at the end of the book, I give tips on letter writing in general, but specifically for somebody who's incarcerated. And so that came from personal experience. I'll hold it up right here. The back of the book has some tips on it. But I don't know. It was from personal experience of me writing letters. People say that I was really good at capturing voice of Nelson throughout this book. I think that was one because it was letters. So it's sorry, excuse me.
Yeah, so I think you'll see that pretty clearly in Margarett's book. If you were to buy it, so make sure y'all go buy, you'll see on the bottom of the screen different ways you can buy the book, both Dear Dad, Love Nelson, as well as Dominique's Thrifted Treasure. So
my brother just walked in. I told y'all family is important. And actually, this is Nelson, actually, so y'all can see.
Nelson.
Get out. Hey, you guys. But so like I said, writing the letters in the voice really helped it to not like let them get out of the voice. It was no narrative, like it's all in his perspective.
Okay.
Additionally, my brother just loves cars, so it was just really just coming in tune with what would Danye say? That's my brother's name. Or what would the different members of my family feel? And also doing that prison creative arts project facilitation that I did, that I think also helped. Just like hearing these stories, I'm constantly in community with people. And so I think it was easy for me to tie in what that perspective would look like, partially from my own experiences, but also just, I've always been in the space of Black men and boys. The community violence work I do is focused on Black men and boys. And so it's just been a big part of a lot of my work. And so I think it was very easy and natural for me to do that. Yeah. I don't know. I think, and also in Dominique, like the grandpa, the way he talks, that's how my grandpa talks. I was really just like, what would they be saying to me if we were
I love that. And I was going to ask, because I know Dominique's Thrifted Treasures is a little bit more closely based on like you and your personal life experience. And so I know in the beginning, you give a shout out to your papa. So like, what did he think of the book? What did your family think of the book?
For Dominique's Thrifted Treasures, if I'm going to be honest, I don't know if my papa read the book. He does know that this bald man is based on him, and I do bald jokes to him all the time. Most of the black men in my family are bald, and they always talk about my hair. He'll say like, "When you gonna comb your hair?" And I'm like, "Same when you comb yours." You know? My mama don't like that, so she's gonna watch this later. She's like, "Don't talk about my daddy."
That is hilarious.
But he did read this part in the beginning, and I'm gonna see him later this week, and I was gonna read it to him, so I can't answer it totally for you. But I do know this book specifically because this was also dedicated to my immediate family. They were very touched by it. But they had been a part of the process of me writing it this whole time. Like I said in the beginning, my brother, we kind of like wrote the draft together. And so they knew about it. And so just like cool to be on this journey with them. A lot of times, especially as a researcher, people usually understand what my research is and engages in those conversations. But I can imagine if you study something like anatomy or physiology, like it's harder for you to talk to your family about those topics. But my research is very personal to my family experience. And same with these books, like they've kind of been on the ride with me this whole way. So I'm sure he's proud, but the actual conversation about it hasn't happened with my grandpa, at least specifically.
Okay, well, we're gonna be waiting for Papa's his feedback very soon. And I know someone in the comments, we've been having people kind of chime in, talk about, you know, I'm assuming it's your family, we got other people watching. Yeah. But somebody asked, how many books do you have you written?
Yeah, so I have Dear Dad, I Love Nelson is the first book. This came out in October of last year. And then Dominique's Thrifted Treasures came out in February. And so these are the only two at the moment. More to come.
At the moment. Emphasis on at the moment.
and these are children's books. I am interested in writing some stuff for young adults. I think one idea I have is to write like a younger teenage-ish book of Dion's unsent letters. And then like mom's letters to the dad or the dad's letters back so that the whole family can sit and talk about the same topic and know the characters and like, but know it from a developmentally appropriate way. Like I'm sure what the mom experienced while the dad was incarcerated is completely different from what Nelson is experiencing. And like the financial struggles, she may not want to talk to him about it, but it would be nice to see it in a book for her to digest that as well. So that's some of the things that I'm working on, but dissertation first is what I'm told. So I need to hunker down on that, and then I'm going to start writing some of these other books as well.
Come on, exclusive. It's given we just got an exclusive of what's going on in the matter of Margaret and Margaret.
Accountable.
And it really sounds like we need to see you at Black Writers Weekend at the Pitch Fest because it's giving that's a book. That is a book or a couple of books coming up. So yeah, okay. So I know you mentioned as well that a lot of your books and the work that you've done so far is based on your research. So obviously the books are one example of how you're weaving your research with your creative. What other things are you doing that you're weaving the two together?
I think that's like the main thing that I end up doing, or do you mean just like in my work in general?
Yes, in your work.
So with the violence prevention work that I do, this is still me researching. This is another way I weave in research and creative together, because I feel like those are the things that I'm usually pulling together. So I am the Senior Associate of Storytelling at a company called Cities United. They are a national network of mayors and young people and city leads trying to reduce gun violence and homicide for Black men and boys. And so there, anything with a CU logo on it, pretty much, I made it in some way, or like the language that we use, things of that nature. Follow us at Cities United. Promotion, y'all help me. But through that job, which is it's a blessing to be able to do it, because it wasn't based on my research skills, which is what I am going to school for, but it was based on my artistry. And so that was a blessing to be able to do that. But I got involved with them because I do study community violence. So I found out about them through their fellowship program. If you're a young person I'm not sure if we're going to do it next year, but look into that. It's a good fellowship program. I tried to get Jasmine on it at one point too. I talked to you about it. Yeah. So I think that's a place and space that is not children's books, but is about violence prevention work. That has been a way that I've tied my research and my artistry together. And I'm sure my friends watching are probably like, she can name 50 more things, but at the moment I'm drawing a blank. But usually I'm tying my personal experiences, what I've learned from research, and my artistry together. So, for example, in Dear Dad Love Nelson, Nelson talks about how long the drive to the jail was.
Mm-hmm.
I did not personally experience that, but when I was writing a master's thesis a while ago about what reentry parenting looks like, that was one of the things. Parents have to take time off of work. Sometimes they sleep in the car because jail or prison is so far away. And so that's a research thing that I learned while studying that I tied into the book, but was not a personal experience of mine. And so I think doing all those things makes it not just about my story, but like makes it more relatable to everybody and kind of shows the depth of hardships that incarceration brings to families.
For sure. And I think that I'm pretty sure the audience who, because the book is going to reach, I always say your book, your work, your creatives are going to reach who it needs to reach. And so I feel like they're going to feel that authenticity shining through your research that's now weaved in and incorporated through the creative. So I love that you are very intentional about that. And that's amazing. And again, like I said, I'm sure that's going to show and shine through to each audience member who reads it, has that personal experience. I'm like, dang, like that is kind of like the drive we would take, or dang, that is something we would do. So I absolutely love that. Okay, kind of winding back, because this is amazing. There was a playlist. I really got all into it because I'm like, obviously,
I don't think anybody has ever told me that they actually.
Okay, you have to drop the link so that way when they read the book, they have to listen. We're gonna get all into it.
I need to go update it. I ain't looked at it in a while.
So there is a playlist on Spotify for Dear Dad Love Nelson, and I mean it features songs from I honestly didn't know what to expect when I saw the playlist. I was like, oh, this is interesting.
Like, I'm sorry to remember what I put on the playlist.
So I'll remind you, we had songs from Tupac, we had songs from Eazy-E, we even had like the Tokyo Drift theme song. And I just want to know what themes from the book inspired this playlist.
Okay, now that you reminded me of some of the songs on there, I can tell what I was thinking about. My like I told you before, this book was inspired by my brother and my stepdad a lot. And growing up, my stepdad had an old school car. My brother, as a child, could like point a car, name the make and model. It was kind of creepy.
Wow.
I can't talk right now. He's trying to talk to me now. The make and models, but my stepdad was also an aspiring musician at the time, and he would literally have CDs in the back of his car and pull up to you. He's a scary looking guy and be like, you listen to music, and we'll sell this. That's how I sell these books. I carry them with me. Y'all like children's books, we sell them.
On the ground footwork is gonna be the best way every time. This man was able to, as a fellow artist, author, obviously I empathize, but I was like, yeah, I'll buy your comic book, knowing I ain't got no kids, I don't color, but I was like, you know what? I like your hustle.
That was me and my illustrator. We were taking a picture together, and we saw this couple was like, oh, can y'all take the picture for us? And they said, yeah. And then they bought the book right off of us. So like just being out in the open, I didn't have to sell a pitch really. They just wanted to support me. But so he always has loved music. So in the book, I even mentioned one of the songs he likes is A Change Gonna Come. And so that's in the playlist, I believe. And so I tried to pull that song at least because that was mentioned in the book. But also I wanted songs about hope and just, I don't know, just life is hard and things of that nature. But like Tokyo Drift is just because songs about cars. Like I wanted just a car lover, Hope Warner, playlist, because that's kind of the things that inspired the book and the things that I think about when I think of Dear Dad Love Nelson. I unfortunately don't have a playlist, I believe, for Dominique's Thrifted Treasures yet, but I'm going to have to think about that now.
Yes. Now we need to know. We need to know when we hear these songs, it's like, that reminds me of that children's book that I know about because I watched AANBC's Sunday Crab Chat. So yeah, that recognition. That
now this brings up a question for me.
Yes.
For your book, you also mentioned some songs, and you mentioned some scripture. So I was like, I wonder, does she have like a playlist or like a list of all these things too?
I know. And you know what? This is why I love fellow creatives, because I'm gonna have to get on that. Come on. Okay, I like that. I don't have so my personal novel is called Anesthesia and the Blood of Jesus. And it is a creative faith-based novel entailing my experience surviving a brain aneurysm. And so, like she mentioned, throughout the book, I do have songs that kind of
I was like, I want to hear this playlist. She talks about a lot of songs in there.
This is what I love us. I'm leaving this called Inspire, and I hope that this is literally what it does to everybody. Love, love, love. So I know someone is dropping in the comments. We've got a lot of great questions coming in as well. Where can we find this book? And I'm assuming they're talking about yours. Where can they find the books?
You can find this book at margarettmcbride.com/author if you want to just go through my website. However, you can get it on Amazon. You can get it on Barnes & Noble, I believe Walmart, Target, anywhere where you can like search my name, you'll find it. I always say this. I'm Margarett McBride. I'm the Black one. I'm competing with Mary Margaret McBride. So you'll see me. But you might have to make sure my name is spelled right. Margarett. I got 2 T's, so that's important for when you look me up. But yeah, you can buy it anywhere. Or if you see me at the airport or in the street somewhere, I might got a copy in my bag.
Keep the fangs on her, okay? And so as you're watching, you'll see her social pop up. You'll see her creative social. You'll also see at the bottom of the screen the titles of both books as well as her website. We're gonna find a way. Maybe if you follow
my website says pre-order, but the book is out. It's not pre-order anymore. I just need to update the website. You'll get it as soon as you buy it.
Lovely. Okay, because it came out in February and then the other one in October. So, and I love how you mentioned like the Black Margaret, because literally that's what this platform is for. In Creative Color is to lift up creators of color who may not have gotten that recognition otherwise. So I absolutely love that. Okay. I think that was all the questions from the comments. Hopefully I answered everything. Keep them comments coming, y'all. We absolutely love them. Let's see, because we've talked about some stuff. Let's talk about Margaret. I know we've been talking about Margaret's work, but let's talk about Margaret. What do you think? So I was looking at your page on your website, and of course we have a section where we can sift through who you are. We have Margaret the author, we have Margaret the artist, Margaret the researcher, and I think of course it speaks to the multifaceted nature of Black women and creatives. We do everything because we can do everything, right? So this is a little bit of a tough question. You might need to take a second to think about it.
Okay.
Who do you think? And this could also change every day, because I know for me it changes. One day I'm Jazz the personality, one day I'm Jazz the writer, one day I'm Jazz the poet, one day I'm just Jazz. I don't even want to be any of it. Who do you think you most identify with? Margaret the author, Margaret the researcher, or Margaret the artist?
I'm trained to be Margaret the researcher. I probably feel imposter syndrome about being Margaret the author.
And I think, I'm so sorry, I think that is so crazy. You have tangible and physical evidence.
I know.
We got to get into that. We got to unpack that.
I feel like when I accomplish something, which I know many people fight the hardest to do what I've done, but once I accomplish something, I'm like, that was whatever. Like, I don't think of it as a big deal because I could do it. Because we live in a world that tells Black women they can't do stuff all the time. So when I do it, I'm like, well, done. What's next? What can I? What president next? What's next? I don't know.
Hey, listen, we on the way.
But I think normally I probably feel more like Margaret the artist, even if I'm not drawing all the time. Art is very vast, and so I am a visual artist. But even when you're writing, that's an artistry in general. And so I think probably I usually identify with that the most. But like my mind is trained to be a researcher. Like being a PhD student, they really beat it in you to like think of things in a certain way. And so I probably, when I come to communities, I probably seem like Margaret the researcher. But in my mind, I'm Margaret the artist. Like I told people, when I go to a conference, a site conference, I wish I could dress like an art teacher instead of. And I can. Nobody's stopping me. I just need to have the courage to do it. But that's like a dream of mine. A couple years from now, if you see me at a conference, you're like, she looked different from everybody else. Finally, just say finally, she did it.
Finally, I got you. I absolutely love that. And I think it's always so fascinating because, you know, it seems sometimes that like it's one or the other. You can't be like a creative, but then you can also be like a researcher. It's very like two classes essentially of like thinking. So if I think creatively, I can't really think about like research and numbers and all of that. How do you wrap your mind around both? Like, how do you?
It has to go together. I think for it to be digestible, as I guess, especially with what I do at Cities United, It has to be digestible to so many different audiences. Some
Mm.
people, grant writers or I don't know, naysayers, they just want the facts, the figures. But let's say a number 100, that means nothing to you. You might think of 100 people, but what does that one person life really mean? Because data isn't just data, they are real people's lives, and we kind of just condense it to one number.
Yeah.
And so I think it's important to speak on both, or people talk a lot about quantitative research versus qualitative research. And I think both are important. I think everything has duality. And doing both makes the story much more richer and makes it more approachable, makes it, touch your heart a little bit more. And so I think both are needed. One isn't necessarily better than the other. One is more respected than others in other spaces. But I think both are definitely necessary. And so in my work, I try to combine everything. And I tell my friends all the time, I'm just trying to find a job, which I believe Cities United is. But in general, like that respects all of the things that I do at once. Sometimes being academic, they don't care that I'm an artist because that's not, you don't get promoted to make things look pretty. But it does make your impact, bigger. And so, just finding places that like value everything that you bring to the table is kind of the journey that I'm on now. And it's sometimes I have it, sometimes I'm sporadic. Like you said, I do a lot of things. That's because I'm passionate about all those things. But I can't just sit down and do one. I have to do them all. And they're all related to community, even though they may seem
Yeah.
like a little bit, they all relate to like people living safe, healthy, and hopeful lives. And that's what I care about and what I want other people to like get on board with too.
Exactly. And you can see, like you mentioned, it all kind of intertwines around that community. So it's a very intentional thread. So I love that. I feel like everything you do is very intentional to that. So beautiful, beautiful. I know you mentioned that, obviously in some spaces, some things aren't as respected, or it's like that doesn't matter. Creative, drawing pictures and making things pretty, that doesn't matter over here in the research world. Have you noticed a shift in maybe like spaces you specifically have been in, being that you do bring in kind of that creative aspect of it? Have you noticed that?
I do notice it. So, for example, like my advisor will be like, "Can you help make this look a little better?" And I'm like, I do see that it's there. It's not like at the highest level. Like if you're a professor, you won't get promoted for probably your community engaged work. I do know those conversations are happening more and more, and I'm hopeful that in the future that is the case for people. So I do see needles moving slowly. But there's still a lot more work to be done, and I guess that's what I have my whole career to look forward to, pushing that needle further and further.
Absolutely. And it's going to take a Black woman to do it. I'm so sorry. That's just
so tired.
Black woman to do it. And I think that's just proof and evidence that creative, like, is needed everywhere. It doesn't matter what they say. Like everything was always one way until somebody came and did it differently. So to know that
and we need to do it differently. How we do it don't work, clearly.
Exactly. And to know that you've seen it, even if just a little bit, creative is moving, is shaking, it's doing things, even if it's just like a teeny little bit. All it takes is a mustard seed,
Mm-hmm.
So being that we have all these different facets of Margarett, right? We're all absolutely in love with every single one of them. How do you manage to balance and juggle and stay organized when you wear these different hats?
That's a funny question, and I usually am honest. And when people ask, like, they don't ask me specifically, but just in general, like, how do you balance it all? I'm like, who said I was balancing it all? I never said that. I feel like some days I'm a really good researcher. Some days I'm a really good artist. Maybe some days I can do a little of each. I think balancing means different things to different people. I just I do productive procrastination.
Girl, I love it.
I need to work on this and I really don't want to, but maybe if I work on this, I'll still be making progress towards one of my goals, just not the one I probably should be working on. So that's kind of the approach I've been taking. And then just finding intentional space with people who want to do those same things. So like in the morning, I work on my dissertation with my friends. And then during the day, I meet with people with Cities United. And then during the evening or the weekends is usually when I do my artistry. And so I do my artistry alone. I do my research and violence prevention work in community. Typically, I do art classes too. So I'm not completely alone, but like more on a day-to-day basis. That's more of a private healing type of space for me. And so that's kind of how it looks in my week. But I think life ebbs and flows and things come and go. And so I don't know, I'm just going with the flow usually when I'm trying to juggle all of these things. That's why I feel like I'm juggling things, and everything that I juggle is like three balls within itself that's juggling as well. So I feel like I'm oftentimes feeling a little bit overwhelmed, but still very grateful for all the spaces that I'm able to occupy. Um, because I've continuously pursued all of my different interests. I didn't let my PhD stop me from writing this book.
Yes.
Or I didn't let me being an artist stop me from getting a PhD. Like all these things, I still kept pushing forward on. Because I'm very, I guess, future oriented. I'm like, just if you do a little a day, you'll get the goal eventually. You might not get it as quick as you want it, but it'll still be done.
I love that. And I think too, that reminds me of this tip I got that, to be honest, I feel like it changed my life. It's one of those things where it's like a little nugget, but it really does something to you where it's like, dang, I needed that. Like I really needed to hear that. But it's like your best isn't going to look the same every day.
Yeah.
Today your best might be just getting out of bed. And that is the best I can do. Whereas tomorrow, my best might be writing my next book. You just never know. And I feel like giving yourself grace and giving yourself space to entertain all of those different avenues. Like I call myself a jazz of all trades, and I hate that, or not. I love the fact that
Renaissance Mars, which is the same time. I'm like, I can do it all.
Because they're like jack of all trades, master of none. I don't know who. That's Jack. Y'all talking about Jack. This is jazz we're talking about. As I said, jazz of all trades. If I can do everything, if I can have my hand in everything, I'm absolutely going to. So I'm excited to be a part of the revolution of taking that phrase and just reclaiming it. Because I don't know what Jack got going on, but Jazz, she's going to be in all them trades. She's going to handle it. Yes. So I had a comment come in. We have a comment come in. They asked if you have a violence prevention class. You don't, correct?
I don't have a violence prevention class. I work in violence prevention. The company I work for called Cities United, they have a fellowship, or they have had in the past. I'm not sure what it'll look like in the future at this moment. But it's a fellowship with young people. That's not a class that I run though. But if you go to citiesunited.org, you can see a lot of resources around violence prevention, or if you follow us on social media, you can learn more about what that looks like. We do have a convening happening in October 2 to 4 this year in Seattle, Washington. If you go to citiesunited.org website, you can see a tab that says convening. And I think if you want a class, that's kind of like the best space to be in, just to learn about what violence prevention looks like. The Cities United way, at least, we try to redefine public safety, and this year we're expecting maybe 800 or so people from across the country. It's a very big thing. People from across the country who are doing a lot of great work, and it's really, I don't know if you've ever been to a conference, or at least a good conference. You kind of go into the space probably depleted, and you get poured in, and you get reinvigorated, and you get ready to do the work again. And that's kind of what that space is, in a place where, since a lot of the stuff is virtual, since we're all across the nation, it's like a reunion of some sort. Like, oh, I see you. I've been seeing you all year. It's so nice to finally hug you and be in community. We hold joy and sorrow in our hands all the time doing this work. And so that's a place where we can really, commemorate and like honor the people we've lost, but also celebrate the hope that we have for the future. And so if you want a class, I'll say that's maybe a space to kind of just get into it, but I don't have a class specifically.
Yeah, and I'm sure if you find yourself on Margarett's website, Margaret's social, you'll see her work, any of the work that she's mentioned linked in some way. So we have Cities United, we have her artistry and her personal ventures there. You have her books, obviously, Dear Dad Love Nelson and Dominique's Thrifted Treasures. Girl, I'm running out of breath because the list goes on, and I absolutely love it. And I know you mentioned, the opportunity to connect with Cities United and at the conference is a chance for, you all to pour back into each other, people to pour into others. I want to know what's pouring into you right now. Like, what's feeding you? What is a good word that you've gotten recently that you would love to share and pass on to others?
I always everything I do is always community centric. So this isn't necessarily what you asked, but like when people ask like, what's the advice? Like, find your people. And that's like what Cities United was. Being a researcher, I was talking about these things. Like, violence exists. It's about redlining and gentrification and like the history that got us to this point. And being in community with Cities United really made me feel like, oh, you're finally speaking what I've been saying, that they were saying it a little, but they weren't like really, I don't know. I feel like they believed it. And Cities United really, like, we really got to tackle all this stuff to really get at the root cause. Other things that pour into me, I'm at home. So even though my life is hectic usually when I'm here, I really do love being with my family. I actually
live in Michigan, correct?
Yes, I'm in Saginaw, Michigan right now. And my bio was old that you had read. I was in North Carolina, but I now live in Texas.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, I'm in Fort Worth now. And so my mom was just visiting there too. So we just had a housewarming. I just bought a home. And so just being around. I'm home on it.
Yes.
But really my family, usually that's what like brings me joy. My sister's having a baby. I mentioned being a new TT at the beginning of this call. So I don't know, just seeing my family grow and expand and be just loving is really what usually I feel pours into me. And I include my close friends in that. They know all the business of my life. They are my chosen family. And so those two like groups of things really make me feel full and whole. When I feel depleted, we can really help each other.
I absolutely love that, Margaret. It was a pleasure. I'm sure, and I hope, I won't assume, but I can assume the folks who are watching have enjoyed this conversation just as much. I hope y'all were able to take nuggets. I hope y'all are able to tap into Margaret's entire like business and industry and everything she has to offer, because I know some of us were interested in the community work that she does. Mm-hmm. Some of us are going to go buy them children's books and read it to our kids, because it's such a beautiful thing that is based on those experiences. So Margaret, I know it's on the screen. I know it's been going across the bottom. Tell the folks where they can find you. I know you gave us a little bit nugget about what you got going on next, but let us know if you have anything coming up that we should look out for. Tell us.
Well, you can find me at Renaissance Mars on Instagram, Twitter, wherever you can find me. Excuse me. I have an art business page also called Made by Margaret. I don't post on that as much, but that's where if you just want to look at artistic things, you can see that there. What do I have coming up next? Like I told you, I got to write this dissertation. I need to be looked away. Look up my research. Find me on Google Scholar soon with some research. Like I said, I do want to write some books soon. I don't think I have like a super big project coming up, but I will say with Made by Margaret, I'm going through a business name change. And once that happens, I do want to offer some arts-based classes. Ooh. So if you're interested in just workshopping some art, I mean, all levels, if you just want to learn some basic things, I just want to be in community and do art. I think my dream job, if I wasn't doing what I was doing, would be like an art teacher, like a community center art teacher.
Yeah.
I want to envision that space online. And so stay on the lookout for that. I'm hoping to have that up and running by the end of the year. And I think that'll be the most recent new thing that will happen in my life. So keep, a lookout for that.
Yes, y'all look out for all the things. Margaret, it was amazing chatting with you. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Again, if you missed it in the beginning, my name is Jasmine, but now and forever to be known as your fave, Jazzonfire. And as it says, your first Sunday just got a bit more colorful. So catch us here with AANBC. You can catch us on YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn. You can catch us everywhere. Anywhere that you up scrolling, we're going to be on your page every fourth Sunday with In Creative Color. So I cannot wait to talk to y'all next month with another amazing guest. Margaret, you were absolutely wonderful. Way to start us off with the bang. And thank y'all. Stay tuned in. And I think the next big thing coming up for AANBC is Black Writers Weekend. So y'all, we just got all the goods for you. So cannot wait to see y'all next time. Cannot wait to see y'all at Black Writers Weekend. And that's it. We'll catch y'all next time. Hey y'all, I am Jasmine Bunch, but now and forever to be known as your fave, Jazzonfire. And I am one of the newest hosts of the Sunday Craft Chats. Catch me every fourth Sunday hosting In Creative Color. Can't wait to see y'all there.
Ship It by Ocean proudly serves as the official shipping partner of Black Writers Weekend, supporting authors, filmmakers, and small businesses alike. We are dedicated to enhancing global workforce diversity and logistics by providing tailored, high-quality shipping solutions that meet individual needs. Our platform helps companies streamline supply chain operations globally, promoting innovation and sovereignty in trade. We collaborate with Black Writers Weekend to raise shipping standards and empower diverse communities worldwide. Contact us now for a personalized quote and be part of shaping the future of shipping.
For me, this was always going to be what I was going to do. I had told my mother at 12 that I was going to move to Atlanta. I was going to be this full-time authoress, and I was going to just tell stories. I never wanted to be anything other than that. And I've been writing stories since I was maybe 8, 9 years old. And for me, it was just in me. Like, people know how to naturally sing. They know how to naturally dance or paint and draw. I knew how to tell stories.